Hello, everyone. Welcome to the All Day Football Show. I'm your host, as always, Jackson Kellogg. And today, big day for the Patriots. Today was the first day of legal tampering, meaning that free agency starts Wednesday at 4 p.m., but today, Monday, March 15th, legal tampering period started at noon Eastern Standard Time. So, from that point on, teams are allowed to talk and discuss contracts with players. Boy, did Bill Belichick not waste any time at all, signing at the moment of recording of 9 p.m. 8 different free agent players. So today we'll be breaking down, or more or less tonight, be breaking down those moves that happened. And as you can see, the player on the front is the first player that will be talked about, and that is tight end Jonnu Smith, becoming the first player to sign today. He was signed a little after noon. Jonnu Smith coming from the Titans after playing there for 4 years, and he is coming in on a 4-year, $50 million contract that includes $31.25 million fully guaranteed, the third biggest tight end deal in the history of the NFL, or currently. So, at that time, the Titans tight end had 114 receptions for 1,302 yards for an average of 11.4 yards per reception, as well as 16 touchdowns. So that may not seem like a lot, but his career year came this past year where he had 41 receptions for 448 yards and 8 touchdowns with just insane numbers in the red zone. So he's becoming a good signing for the Patriots. Patriots needed a veteran tight end, and with that move, it doesn't look like they have interest in putting in like 100% development into tight ends Devin Asiasi and Dalton Keene, who they traded up twice to take both of them in last year's draft in the third round. Those moves don't seem very good now, but from this point on, the Jonnu Smith signing looks to be very good, and it was just the first of 8 that came today, with the second one being Davon Godchaux, nose tackle for the Miami Dolphins, who signed on a 2-year deal worth up to $16 million that includes $9 million fully guaranteed. Godchaux coming from the Dolphins after 4 years, he had a combined 179 tackles, 100 to his name on his own, with 3 sacks, but that may not seem like a lot, and you're wondering why would they sign him. Godchaux was hurt last year, but the year before, 2019, he had 75 combined tackles, and he led the NFL in run stops, according to PFF. So he's doing exactly what the Patriots want him to. He's going to be a clog up the middle to stop the run. The third signing of the day was linebacker Matt Judon, who signed on a 4-year, $56 million contract, including over $32 million in the first 2 years, and about half of it fully guaranteed. Matt Judon has been a standout linebacker for the Ravens these past few years. In his 5 years with the Ravens, combining for 237 tackles, 34.5 sacks, he's been a edge rusher of menace for the Ravens, and he's become only the second, or he was one of 2 linebackers today to sign from the Ravens, as Yannick Ngakoue signed a 2-year, $26 million contract with the Raiders. He's just been bouncing around like crazy. Sucks for all the teams that traded around for him. But the Patriots get Matt Judon, a very good edge player to build around. This linebacking core very quickly got to look very good. As the Patriots get Dante Hightower back, they just signed Matt Judon. So in terms of linebackers next year, they've got Hightower, Judon, Chase Winovich, Josh Uche, Anthony Jennings. Like, that's a very good mix of linebackers to have both on the edge as well as running in the middle of the field. So I'm very happy with the signings so far. Let's keep going, as the fourth signing of the day was defensive back Jalen Mills, who signed from the Eagles on a 4-year, $24 million contract that includes 9 of it guaranteed. This move was a bit of more of a head scratcher for me, as Jalen Mills, in his 5 years with the Eagles, has combined for almost 300 tackles at 283 and has 5 interceptions in his career. So he's averaging 1 interception a year. He doesn't necessarily have the most amount of pass breakups. Eagles fans haven't been crazy happy about him these last few years, but he is a hard worker, and that has been, without a doubt, something that Belichick has been able to turn and do really well with. This move was a big head scratcher for me, considering that the Patriots still haven't made a move with J.C. Jackson, which I'll get into more on that towards the end, as well as they still have Stephon Gilmore, Jonathan Jones, Jawan Williams, Jason McCourty is a free agent, so this is not looking good for him, as his brother Devin is still signed with the Patriots for this year. I just don't understand this move, as he hasn't been the greatest, and I don't think he necessarily deserves this contract, but it's only $9 million guaranteed. If he sucks after this year, they will probably just cut him after the year. Not too much harm done. So we'll see how he plays out. The fifth signing of the day was a re-sign of defensive end Dietrich Wise, who the terms of his contract are not known yet, but it is known that he has agreed to re-sign with the Patriots. Dietrich Wise has done well for the Patriots in the 4 years that he's been here. He's been more of a rotational piece, but in that time that he's been rotational here, he has 131 combined tackles as well as 14 sacks. His sack numbers have gone down progressively, as he had 5 sacks in his first year with the Patriots in 2017, 4.5 in 2018, 2 in 2019, and 2.5 in this past year, 2020, as he was technically one of the sack leaders for the Patriots. I do think this means that the Patriots are going to give him a more predominant role, and I think it's between this and the Godshaw signing that the Patriots are looking less likely to bring back guys like Lawrence Guy, Adam Butler, and John Simon. Though I haven't been too keen on keeping John Simon, I would have definitely liked to see Lawrence Guy and Adam Butler back here. But Dietrich Wise is a decent signing. We'll see how he plays out in another year at least with New England. The sixth signing of the day comes from Nelson Agholor, former wide receiver of the Eagles and the Raiders, signed on a 2-year, $26 million deal. Nelson Agholor comes here after having a career year with the Raiders with 48 receptions, 896 yards, and 8 touchdowns, adding on to his career totals of 271 career receptions, 3,400 yards, and 26 touchdowns. Agholor cashing in on his good year. It is a smaller deal with a 2-year, $26 million deal, so he's averaging $13 million a year. Nothing known about his guarantees yet. But with this 2-year deal, it gives him 2 years to figure out if he's going to be predominant, if he's going to do well, and it gives the Patriots an opportunity after the first year to decide if they still need to pursue better wide receiver options. But at the moment, this looks like the Patriots have found a at least good deep threat option in Agholor, as he's better than Damiere Byrd, N'Keal Harry, any guy that they've tried to bring in to be the wide receiver deep threat. Now, Agholor was not the only wide receiver signed today, as the other wide receiver would be wide receiver Kendrick Bourne out of San Francisco, who signed on a 3-year, $22.5 million deal. He is the second receiver to sign today from the Patriots. Third total of the big receivers, as Corey Davis signed a 3-year deal with the Jets, averaging about $12 million a year over there. Or 2-year deal, sorry. But Kendrick Bourne coming here to New England, him and Agholor will team up to try and bring better production to the wide receiver core for the Patriots, as the Patriots wide receiving room needed an upgrade this offseason, as Edelman is still a question mark to come back next year, and Jacoby Myers is the only good receiver in that group, as Gunnar Olszewski is still developing, and N'Keal Harry hasn't quite gotten there yet, kind of not living up to his first round pick. But Agholor and Bourne will hopefully develop, to be very good dominant receivers for the Patriots for the next 2 to 3 years. The Patriots also signed today, less than an hour ago, defensive lineman Henry Anderson to a 2-year deal worth about $7 million, and it has a max value of $11 million based on playing time. This is the move that I disagree with the most, as Henry Anderson, his stats don't necessarily jump off the page, as his career tackles are only at 98. So he's played for 6 years. He's got 167 total tackles, 23 tackles for loss, 44 quarterback hits, and 11.5 sacks. I'm not a huge fan of this move for the reason that it's been reported he's a dirty player, not the greatest in the locker room. This isn't something that I think the Patriots necessarily need right now, and I think this money would have been better spent bringing back Lawrence Guy and Adam Butler. That's just my opinion on the move, but I'm not necessarily a huge fan of this trade, or of this signing at all. So in other Patriots news today, Joe Thuney, former left guard of the Patriots, signed a massive contract with the Chiefs, as he signed a 5-year, $80 million deal to go play for the Kansas City Chiefs. It is very well deserved of Joe Thuney. He is one of the best offensive guards in the league. It is reported that the Patriots were one of the last teams to compete with the Chiefs, meaning the Patriots did have an interest in bringing him back if they could do it for cheap, but the Chiefs did give him the money that he deserves. I'm happy for Thuney. Hope he has success over there. Don't necessarily hope the Chiefs win more Super Bowls, but I'm happy for him. Glad he got his money. He did very well in New England, and wish him the best. So now, at this point, the Patriots have done all these signings, but there are some moves I still have questions about. I wonder, why haven't they done anything with J.C. Jackson or David Andrews yet? J.C. Jackson is a restricted free agent at the moment, who the Patriots, if they don't tender him, or if they don't put a first or second round tender on him, by Wednesday at 4 p.m., he will become a unrestricted free agent. What that means is, so if they put a first round tender on him, that means if a team puts a contract on J.C. Jackson and the Patriots match it, then he comes back to the Patriots. But if the Patriots don't match it, then the other team has to give up a first round pick for J.C. Jackson. If nobody offers J.C. Jackson a contract, then he comes back to the Patriots on a 1-year, about $4 million contract. That is very good and very cheap for J.C. Jackson's production, and I don't understand why the move hasn't been solidified yet, as it's cheap and it's almost a no-brainer. The other move I am surprised that hasn't happened yet is re-signing center David Andrews, who he came back this year after missing all of the previous season from blood clots. He comes back this year. He's a dominant center. He's not necessarily the best guy, but he's nothing shy of being great. He's always been good on that spot, and I don't understand why the Patriots haven't re-signed him, because even though he has done well, he's a very cheap option because teams don't view him as being very good at the center position. And he's been in and out of the lineup dealing with the blood clots injuries. But he's a locker room presence. He was a captain last year. One of the few offensive captains left if they re-sign him. So I want him back to get him in there. He would solidify one of the best offensive lines, if not the best offensive line in the league, with Isaiah Wynn at left tackle, Michael Onwenu at left guard. If he re-signs, David Andrews will go back to center, Shaq Mason at right guard, and Trent Brown at right tackle. I think this would make for one of the best offensive lines in the league, and it would just be a monster offensive line to have to try and stop. There are also some little minor moves that I'm surprised the Patriots haven't made, whether it's re-signing James White, Lawrence Guy, Adam Butler. I am a little interested as to why the Patriots offered the contracts they did to Kendrick Bourne and Nelson Aguilar, with the idea that Corey Davis signed for an average $12 million a year with the Jets, where the Patriots spent 13 on Aguilar, meaning they could have afforded Corey Davis, but they chose Aguilar instead. Or Corey Davis just didn't want to play for the Patriots. Not known what went on there. I'm not the one getting all the details. I'm just reporting everything that everyone else knows. But that's all I have for today. So, big news. Tomorrow I will be doing a live stream on this channel starting around 3 p.m. doing the day 2 moves for free agency, the tampering period, going over any moves that happen before the live stream starts, and then going over moves that happen as the stream is going. And that's league-wide, not just going over Patriots moves, but I will go over the moves, how it affects their team, and how it affects the Patriots, as a lot of moves will affect how the Patriots move along in their free agency. The Patriots are rumored to have about $15 million left in cap, meaning they can still have moves made. Just even re-signing J.C. Jackson and David Andrews, that would cost less than the $15 million on its own. So it is possible to bring these guys back if that is reported what their cap is around right now after all the signings they did today. But hopefully the Patriots can come back strong next year with all of these signings, and I hope that these moves continue. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. Hope you all tune in to the live stream tomorrow starting around 3 p.m. We'll go for about a few hours, see what goes on, and I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and let's hope that the Patriots, with all these moves, can get back to their dominancy and possibly the Super Bowl.